All right. Welcome, everyone. We are going to do fun with foam tonight. I kind of showed some patterns on the email. Uh, Unfortunately, again, last week, sorry for those who are watching this now that tried to attend last week and maybe didn't get the notice that I had to cancel last minute. So we are going to do the fun with foam tonight. I know Jim Saraceno was going to tie last week with us, but he could not make it this week. So I'll pick up a couple flies, and I see Carl's already tying. So we'll try a different couple things. I'm going to actually switch cameras so you can kind of see some of the things that we have, and then we'll probably join Carl because he's already joined Carl in progress. So
I'm good to tie too tonight.
oh,
Mick.
cool. Okay. I appreciate it. Again, I think this is the first one that I showed what we were going to do. And this is a nice little grasshopper that Amy helped me tie about a little over 2 years ago when I only got to go to JB about 6 times before COVID hit. And so this was one of the classes I took, and I've kept on to that. So you've got this. What I will be tying tonight is this cool little frog. I think they call it like an STP frog. I got the cutter from Jim, and he actually tied this for us before. And I saw some really neat foam stuff, so I'll try doing this one.
That's Kermit. That's Kermit.
Yeah.
You fish Kermit?
I fish Kermit, and Jim, this is Jim's. It's cool because he even used, hard to see, but he put some red on the inside to do the mouth. So he did kind of different, but it was really neat. Scott and I were fishing a couple weekends ago, and I was using this grasshopper. It's kind of neat. I'll try doing this again. I did this after we were having a blast with the bluegills. I was trying to see if I could get bass, and even the bluegills were trying to pull us under, but with the green top, I could still see it. But one time it went completely gone and got a nice bass out of Lake 16. This one was a fun one. This little beetle, which one of them that I'll tie. This was a fun one, and I kind of put it on a click hammer hook. As you can see, that hook point is way low, so I didn't have any problems with them, hooking up with that. So it was actually kind of neat to use a click hammer hook on this. And made a little beetle out of it, and I kind of use orange on top, and that's more for me to see. That's all the fish would see is the black, and we did well. And Scott was there, and we had a blast. I mean, those were some big bluegill that we were pulling out. So like John was saying, the weather is a lot warmer. They're starting to bed down, so this is a good time to start going for those bluegill and bass out there. So with that, I see Carl already tying. Carl, do you want to just run with this and show us what you got started, and then you can finish up, and then Amy and I could take turns knocking out some other patterns?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
We could hear you good.
Can you see it all right? I can.
Yeah,
see if you can see.
looks
Okay.
good. Looks like you're doing a mayfly tail.
Yep.
Yep, there it is.
I did. So this is the first detached mayfly pattern I've done. And I know we were tying with foam, and I've watched a lot of videos on it. And I just decided last night I was going to do it. So 2 hours later, I finally had a decent fly. So it's a little bit challenging. Here's another one that I did. Whoops, sorry. So that's my first attempts on the Wally wings and a detached mayfly all in one fell swoop. So anyway, what I've been using is using this craft foam, and I think it's maybe 1/8 inch, and I cut out a little triangle right here, and I'll just demonstrate it here. So I find a spot here. So I cut 2 little tapers. And let me get another one here. About the same size. And the taper works good when you're trying to get a taper to the body. So I got 2 pieces of foam. Basically, let me put it where you guys can see it. Like that. And put them together. So I put 1 on each side of the hook. So I started on my bodkin, and it helps if I found out if you have your bodkin cleaned before you do this, because if you got glue on your bodkin, you try to pull it off, it all comes apart. So what I do is I take it on the bodkin and I put it on here, and then I tie this end on, and then I just wrap on each side of it. But I put the thread on first, and I can demonstrate that. I can start over on this one.
Where's the hook?
We ain't there yet. This got to we're gonna make the tail first. So anyway. So what I do is I start off with a, whoops, wrong color thread. I'm going to be using 2 pieces of thread, or 2 colors of thread. I'm going to use a brown 8/0, and then I'm going to use a olive 16/0. I mean, excuse me, 6/0. And I could go a little bit finer, but I'm going to be tying this on a size 12 hook. So I just was practicing it to have a bigger fly to kind of get used to it before I decided to dumb it down. And I think this proportion came out a little better than the first one I did. First one, I had a really long tail. And when I put it on there, I was like, that looks like a hex fly almost. So that tail's probably a little bit too long. So still discovering how to do that. So I'm going to take my brown, brownish olive thread, get just a couple loops around the end of it here. Then I wrap it once over just so it'll hold. And then I take my 2 pieces of foam, and you can do one at a time, or you can try to do them together. But if you put the foam on each side of it, to hold it, it makes it a little bit easier. Now, one thing that I did try that worked pretty good, I'll show you, that actually was a little bit easier, is I took 1 piece, and I cut it as a taper, but it's a little wider. And then I split it down the middle with the scissors. Try to get it about as even as you can. And this makes tying it on a lot easier. So I go over one side, because that foam, this piece of foam holds over your needle. This is something I was just kind of playing with yesterday. But so you have a solid piece right here, if you can see that. And then you can, whoop, drop my thread. And you can put a little bit of wax on it. Kind of gives it a little bit of a grip, but enough to hold it. Get 2 or 3 wraps. Then take our tapered foam body and grab the solid piece that you haven't cut and kind of get a little bit of a loose wrap on it. And then this makes it easier. You can push the foam down, just get it started. And then you can split that foam on either side. And if you turn it like that, maybe you guys can see that a little better. You see that? So just going to run down here. And then just go on each side of it. Hold your thumb and forefinger on it. And just enough to get it secured. And then just go on each side of the needle. And I don't want to go too long because it's, like I said, this is the one I did last night, and this one's just a little bit shorter than that. So that's about where I want it. Back up just a little bit. So then I'm going to go down here, do some cross wraps, and I'm going to tie it a little bit tighter as I go towards the end here. And as I get to the end, I'm going to move it back and forth a little just to make sure I don't get it on too tight. And wiggle it back and forth a little. I'm going to trim that little big piece of foam off there. So there, pretty much done with that. So I'm going to just do some loose wraps because I don't want to lose my taper at the top. And I'm going to just do a whip finish of a couple turns here. Also, I discovered if you've got a bigger whip finish tool, when you put the mayfly on like this, or when I put the tails on, the 3 tails on, these big ones work a little better because you're getting wrapped around your tails that way. So for the tails, I'm going to be using 3 moose hair. These are dark colored. I wish I had some that was a little lighter, but I'll eventually get some someday. You got to kind of just use what you have. So that's going to be our tails. But before that, I'm going to take super fine dubbing, and I'm going to take a light brown, and that's what I'm going to use to make I'm going to dub the body on this thing. So I'm going to get a long strand of this, and I'm just going to start rubbing it on here, and I'm going to turn it with my fingers on here to get it caught, and then just keep turning the dubbing on here till I get a nice even coat. I'm going to try to build up that top end just a little bit more so I can get a good taper on it. And with the long strand thin dubbing, works the best on this. So, and as I get towards the end, then I can just hold my fingers on it. And that's about where I want it. Got a little bit of flyaway here. All right, so don't want to get too far off the beaten path here with this thing. All right, now I am going to take my 3 pieces of moose hair. Just throw them in a stacker because it's a little easier to handle that way. Dropped one. You can kind of be stingy with the moose hair. I mean, I've seen ones where they've had them where some people will tie these with 2 or 3 different or bunches of hair, and then just kind of pick out the best ones they want. But, so I got my 3 pieces right here. I'm going to go to my olive thread now. I'm going to tie the olive thread just right at the tail, right at the very end. Get 2-3 wraps right over each other. I don't want to put too much on there. Just enough to hold it. I'm going to take my 3 fibers of, whoops, moose hair, kind of spread those around, get a loose wrap, and then pull up, and then kind of get them positioned the way I want them. Want one in the middle, one on this each side. So just kind of bend it over. And I leave it right there. And I put, when I did the ones last night, I tried a little bit of head cement on one. And then I tried a little bit of epoxy. I like the epoxy a little bit better. Then I'm going to take some extra long bleached elk hair for the top of the body. And then clean the underfur out. And I got about 3 times too much is what I needed right there. And then I'm going to get the short hairs out of there. So this is going to be as long as the body. So I got the moose hair right here, and I got my elk hair right here. Now I'm going to trim this just to get it evened up a little bit. And I'm going to go right at the edge of it. And then I'm going to take these and I'm going to do segmented wraps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to these fibers. I'm going to pull the moose hair off, one off to each side. I'm just trying to get a little too fancy here because it looks pretty cool when you can get that moose hair on one on each side. Gives it a cool band in there. Okay, so that's off on each side. And then I'm going to move over and I'm going to do a segment. I'm going to do one complete wrap around. Then I'm going to move over, try to get the spacings even as I can, go up. I want to try to get them right over the top of each other here so they can try to make it look like one band. Can you guys see that? So I'm right at the edge here. So now I'm going to get my big whip finisher. Whoops. That's not what I wanted to have happen. Saved it. Okay, trim it off. And then we can pull it off. And fix my tail here. I'm going to trim these butt ends of this. So there's our detached tail.
Looks nice, but he might have froze.
I think we just lost Carl.
Yeah, he froze. It looks good. We'll see if he comes back.
Looks great. Carl, can you hear anything?
All right, Amy, it might be you and I jumping in.
Okay, doke.
What are you gonna tie, Amy? Because I might,
I'll,
a
why
what?
don't you wanna jump, you wanna go first and, then we'll see if we can get him back. I don't think
Yeah.
he knows he lost connection on that and then I can jump in with anything.
Okay. Let's see if he comes in. Change over mine.
You know, you guys ought to do a tie-off some night.
That's what I was gonna do, it like a duet and kind of figure out,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, put them side by side and
Yeah, we did that last week with some folks from the Cornhusker, and it was a lot of fun.
We did that from a page in our book that we use
yeah,
and
the Turk's tarantula, I think.
yep, one of my favorite flies to fish.
Mick, is that your new camera?
Not yet. I'm waiting. The
Okay.
new camera is 250 and with gas prices, that's going to my truck. So sorry about that, but yeah, at the Mayfly event, I saw the camera I want and absolutely want to go to that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
So-
we're getting ready to start a chapter here in Omaha for Project Mayfly.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that was fun. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it
with that
was. It
group.
was really cool.
So, all right, I'm gonna do the STP frog, but I like John said, it looks more like Kermit. You know, it's tough to be green and have a hook. So I'm gonna run with this one. This is fun, easy tie. I got a lot of the equipment from Jim, and one of them is actually the foam cutter. I have several foam cutters, but we'll go through each step. So the hook that I have right now is a TMC 8089 size 6. Oh, it looks like Carl's coming back on. Let's see if we hear from him. So that's the hook I'm going to use. And then I've used, what I will do is start a thread base on it first. And I'm just using Ultra Thread 140. Anything really works with this. And I'm just going to get a thread base going on this.
I'm back. I don't know what happened.
Are you ready to go? Because I could.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. We're good.
All
I'm done. I was just gonna show you how to do the tail, but I'm done.
All right. Yeah, we lost you. You went,
Yeah.
you showed us it and it looked good and all of a sudden you went dead.
Yeah, my computer died and I thought, well, maybe my battery wasn't charged, but it was charged. So I don't know what the heck that was about.
Well, okay. So with the thread base, it's pretty easy. I actually use a foam cutter with this, and you could either use, I bought some of this from Hargroves. It's Hairline thin fly foam. This is 2 millimeters, light olive. I use that for the top. And as you can see, I made some cuts with the foam cutter. I could demonstrate some of those after that. I've got them in beetle and nice little wood handle. I think Amy showed us on that. You got to be careful, but I got beetles and Fat Alberts. And then I also have the foam frog from Jim. Did white as well. And I tried tan, but I didn't do it. But you could buy this. Again, these were $2 at Hargroves. Or Amy brought up one time, let me bring this stack. You could get a whole stack of these that actually have a glue adhesive back, and it has pretty much every color you could hope for. And I think I paid $10 for this at Walmart. And these do really fun stuff. Again, there's multiple colors. Some of the colors that I like doing, I have like the yellow and green. Those work really well on hoppers. The black and orange work good on the beetles, with the orange is more for my visual keepsake. And then I got green and brown again. So
Nick, I've been told that the stuff you get at Walmart is not as dense as the stuff they make for fly tying. And it absorbs water more. Have you experienced any of those problems? You or Amy, either of you?
I have
No.
noticed both absorb water. I don't see both, but what I do use is any kind of floating beforehand. I make sure I seal it really well. And Scott and I were out about 2 weeks ago, and I had no issues keeping it up. It was fine. Bluegill were, I don't know how many we caught on that, and it kept floating. So
Okay.
it did well.
We
I don't
don't-
see.
We don't have your fly shops here, so.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a couple different things you could do, John, because foam is instinctively cellulose. So it's going to absorb some water as it sits, and depending on what current you're in, depending on which foam you go with, you can also treat it just with a sealant. So you could do your UV on it. You could also just use the top coat, Sally Hansen's. We've talked about that before. Watershed for
Watershed
your
is good.
natural materials. It does not eat through. It's not corrosive, and it won't gum up in your fly box. So
Okay.
you can get your money's worth out of it from that. And I think also, if you're looking at something of just getting a day out of a fly, you're not going to use this over and over and over again. But it would be something, just they're quick, they're kind of fun, and it'll last for what you want it for.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I agree. I'll continue with this. So again, I've just kind of put a quick base on this. And I'd say the hardest part when doing this is the white, which is going to be the bottom of your fly, because now you're going to have to try to bend it into that hook area. That's actually kind of holding. I kind of let the point hold it, but again, this is just like any foam. Once you get it started, it's a little bit easier. But doing several of these, I would say this was the toughest part, was trying to get this belly on. The top, basically with the same kind of cutout, you try to match up, as you can see, the tip of that to what I had for the green, because you're going to want to have to fold these over to match up when you glue these two together. So you're trying to ensure that you've got a good match between the two. That looks good. Now for the legs, we use Crazy Legs, the chartreuse. There's so many different. I've got some that are orange and white, orange and purple, just straight orange. And the cool thing is sometimes you get these straight colors, but if you do like the barred look on it, what you could do is, I had straight white before, and a quick Sharpie will give you those barred legs real quick. Doesn't have to look too pretty, but when you put them together, your legs will kind of look like that. So if you can't find those, you could just straight colors, you could use a Sharpie, and those work really well. So with this, I'm going to take out of that chartreuse, I'm going to take 2 strands out of this, and I'm going to go for the back legs now. Easiest way that I see is still taking it through, kind of marrying it up, and then bring it on top and locking it in. Do want to make sure you keep tension on this because these will try to walk on you. If you don't get them exactly straight, you know, how you can see right now mine are ones going forward, going back. You can just kind of try to lock into them a little bit, but you can actually do it with the foam body as well. I'm going to do the same with the forward legs. Again, 2 strands seem good. When I was looking at this on YouTube, they were doing like 5, 6, and I was afraid that was going to weight down the fly itself, and 2 looked just fine. So I went with that, and it looks good. I kind of put it about 4 legs back, eye width, because I will want to keep the head about that level. So at this point, I'm going to do a half hitch to kind of save it. And now this gets a little bit difficult with the legs, but we will do that. You will need some super glue. You just want to do the edges. I'm seeing if you could. Bring that forward here. Super glue, you got to be careful to ensure you are gluing the frog and not your fingers to the frog. You just got to work it a little bit. If you see in the back, I still have a little bit of a gap here and there. You could put a little bit of the glue there and squeeze it. You got to be careful. A little bit of pressure will do, but as you see, it does seal up, but you can seal your fingers to that frog too if you're not careful.
What about using a paper clip on that?
You could, even an alligator clip would work fine.
That's what I meant.
Yep. And then basically now I'm just going to kind of cinch that head in, where you're just kind of tightening it around, watching out for those long legs. And when you kind of pull on this, you can see the mouth starts opening to where you're going to have your hook eye there where you'll be tying to. And then you bring under the white lip, and then you could wrap just behind the eye. If you want, you could whip finish or put a couple calf hitches and you'll be fine. At that point, I can get rid of the thread. Now with the legs, they are very stretchy, so I use 2 fingers to wrap, and for the front, you want to bring that elbow in or arm a little bit closer to the front. Oop, I actually just broke one. But I will still use what I have. Now you could just trim and make little feet out of them. And then with the backs, you could make them a little bit longer. Oh. Another break. So there are the legs. Now you could fish it like this, or if you want to decorate a little bit, as I said already, you know, with these, I got little black marks. Again, you could do that. I know they sell foam with that, but you could actually just put in some markings with a Sharpie. And make your own little patterns. So there's a top if you want. And then if you really want to get creative, you could get holographic eyes. This is more for me. I enjoy the way you got little googly eyes. So I will put these on. With anything with foam, if you're doing that, it always seems good to be working with a bodkin to kind of use that to kind of pick these things off. Little eyes. There, hopefully you can see he's got some eyes now. Last thing I'm going to do is I have this little like syringe glue. I'm just going to want to lock in some of the threads in the eyes. So I'll just give a little dab around the top. Over the eyes to hold those in place. Then go along the bottom. That should lock everything in. So there's a quick frog for you. Any
You're able-
questions on those?
Nice.
I think this would do well. It's a little bit smaller than the grasshopper I was using over the weekend. And this would probably be taken by some of the bigger bluegill and the bass as well. So a good medium size on that. So quick tie, lots of fun.
It would work good on the quarry.
There you go. You got to have us out.
Those cutters are a little pricey, aren't they?
They're coming down in price though. If you go on Amazon, I think when I first started looking at these, I would say they were looking around 30, 40 bucks, but now they're in the teens, around 18. And as I said, I've got, this is a beetle that I have here, and it makes these nice little
Yeah.
beetle cutouts, and these are fun. And here's a tied one. The foam cutters are nice. They are expensive. A lot of the times your scissors just squaring off and making strips work just as fine. And that's what you could do with scissors, or when I was up in Margie's little craft room, there was like, we all seen those little paper cutters that they had back when we were in school. They make little mini ones that cut the strips really nice. Like here's a, well, I can only do single sheets on that, but again, if you wanted to trim some of these, it will go in. Here we are. You just cut them, so it's the same thing that we had, you know, but they cut.
Sorta.
sorta. So you got these. I just demonstrated, don't do this. Scissors probably are your best bet.
Cutting wheel and a
then
ruler works real well too, Mick.
Ruler, straight edge, and you know, this is one that I use for, you know, my hoppers. Scissors work just fine. If you want to go out and spend 18 bucks on foam cutters, you can. I did it. It's kind of fun, but you can make your strips just like this for doing your hoppers.
Yeah, I use a cutting wheel. It works really well.
Yeah, that would be good too. I know Margie's got one of those crickets and that works just as good.
Make that cutting for the frog, what was that called? Is that just called a frog?
They call it an STP frog if you try to go on YouTube. It's really simple. This one, I would say the foam cutter kind of helps out a little bit because they got the shape for the head and the body and the tie-in points. So that really helps with that, but you can cut these out by hand too if you wanted. And it's
But this punch is called a frog punch?
yes, it's I got it from Jim, and again, it's just looks like a piece of wood, and then I don't know if you could see the frog shape. Then I'm trying to move it and get it into like,
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
yeah, and it's again, you have to be real careful when you do punch. Let's see if I could. They do come with a little piece of rubber, and basically, I don't know if I could get my camera to look down a little bit. I will
Yeah,
try to
Walt,
do
I'm
it.
looking at them right now on Amazon, and they're from, one site has River Road Creations. They're called STP Frog Foam Body Cutters.
Yep, that would be it.
Yeah, you can buy one for $21.19, or you can buy the whole set for $59.99.
Oh, I'll take 2 sets.
There you go. Or be nice to Jim and he'll let you use his.
Well, why don't we just write Mick and have him cut us each 100 or so of them?
Yep. And so, as you see, it cut right through it, easy, but do be careful. Use either your scissors or a bodkin. Try not, these are razor blades. You have to be real careful when you pull those out. That is a very sharp cutting tool. As you see, you know, it cuts it just like a frog. And as I said, they have beetles and Fat Alberts. You know, here's Fat Albert. This is just a straight, it says caddis or ant. And then the beetle that I bought as well. Again, you don't have to have these. It makes it easier, but there's a little cost to them, so. But they're out there, and like STP Frog, that's what you get. I don't know what exact size this one is.
That looks like a large, Mick.
Probably. Because he doesn't have the, with these, I kept them in the package where they actually have size, like these are 8, 10, 12, 14, or 16. I bought the 10, 8, or 14, so.
That's the size of the hook that it would go with?
Where is my
Yes.
size 6, I think. Here it is. What I was doing is a size 6. TMC 8089.
Okay,
That'd be good for bass. Amy, I hope I left you some time.
All right.
All right, I will
Yeah, well,
pin you, Amy. All right, go for it.
so yeah, I mean, Mick was talking about the cutters, of course. You can buy those. They do come in kits, and just depends on what you want to use. But they're kind of cool. They're handy to store. Be careful transporting them. Make sure you kind of have them buttoned down. And then they also come with a hard foam block, and it's kind of like rolling linoleum. And when you cut them, you actually want to press down and then roll, and then that'll come out with a clear cut on those. So, well, I will do a really fast one for you. Let me change this up for a second. And I'm going to show you one from Landon Mayer, who's a tire out in the Colorado area, and his little ant. So I'm going to use a smaller dry fly hook on this one, and I'm going to show you the ant. And so we've talked about this before as far as shelf paper. You have to specifically look for this shelf paper that has basically the diamonds in it. And you can cut your strip to start with. And so when you do that, you have a little section to work with. And I'm just going to go up on this. I don't know that I have a whole lot of time, but let me lay on some thread real quick. And I am using on this to give it a little bit more durability and float to it. So I've got my dubbing, and I have basically combined, I've got an Antron dubbing on this. I've also mixed in, so I did my usual mix a bunch of them. And then I also really like adding some flash in. So this is the dubbing wad that I came up with. And I'm going to lay some dubbing up, and then I'm going to come back in and lay in the other materials in this. So first thing is, and you can see I've got multiple different, I was mixing earlier that's why I turned off my camera and my sound, because you guys don't need to hear my coffee grinder going. But I mix these up, and what I want is the fibers to kind of be one, but still have their own, meaning I don't want a clump. So I go through, it's like kneading the old silly putty, right? So I'm going to come in, going to lay this on my thread, start and go down, and you can see already as far as it's starting to grab, can come in and just kind of imagine that you're trying to make yarn. So I can pull that out, and now I can jump in, get that where I want it. I'm going to go up and lay this up once on here, and then I'm going to come back. And again, you see that it's already building in the body. And I've stopped again pretty much at my hook point at the end portion of it with this ant material. And again, it's shelf paper. I want something else to create legs. And on this side of it, because I don't like to all, go rubber and everything else, but I'm going to take some hackle. It's generally my leftover part of my hackle. So from a whole hackle portion of it, if I'm going to make ants or beetles, I'm generally going for something that I'm not going to use. So I'm going to save these more on top for my dry fly, lay it over on the side. I can come in and grab from the middle section right here, and I'm going to come in, to strip off because I don't want the legs too exaggerated on this. And this does have a right and a left, or front and a back, right? The shiny portions of it. So I'm taking the dull to my non-dominant, or towards the back. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to position that 2 wraps in front, 1 in back. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want that hackle to lay perpendicular to me. And so it's straight off of this. If I take my clip, then I can get it back out of my way because I'm not going to use it yet. Instead, I'm going to come over and grab my foam. And you can use any foam. You can use just a foam strip, something from your scrap pile. Got a few of those. I've also got some other kind of foam that I could lay in depending on what the sunlight is. Maybe I want something that's more white. This again is a visual. So I could lay this in and make the same pattern. What's fun with this one is because it creates so much of that optical. Oops, sorry, just dropped a big glob of. So I've taken this shelf paper that comes in big, huge strips, and I've cut off a section that I want to work with. On this portion of it, if I pull between two of the cells here, pull it back out, and it creates antennas. Pretty cool. Then I measure out to my fly. I want this to run a little bit longer on the back, and I'm going to come up here and pull exactly the same tension, pull it apart. It almost pops, but it makes two more antennas on the front. It's just kind of a fun one because people can look at this and go, oh, it actually looks like a bug. Now I can go back and one by one shorten it where I want. Every time you pull it, it makes those little antennas. Then you can look at this. Now, because of where my hook is and the positioning on it, I'm going to come in, I'm going to grab over the top, and just like any positioning wrap, going to loose wrap one more, lift it up, move forward, grab again, so that I'm not over wrapping the foam, because if you over wrap foam, it loses all property. It's not going to float anymore. So I want to leave these a little bit more, like a little bit concave on this. And then I can go up towards the front. I don't need this last one on, so I'm going to make sure I grab that. I've got my hackle in place because that's back here. Take it around, and you can do one or two wraps. I prefer just one, kind of candy cane. Just wrap it up real loose, kind of buggy looking. Come in at the end. I'm going to grab this, make sure I cinch that down. Then I'm going to pull everything out of the way, go up in front, finish that out. And I'm actually going to almost thread dam on the head of it, just so it keeps it up a little bit more. And cut my hackle out at that point. And then I can whip finish out. And so it's got enough bugginess, but it's also really effective. It's basically an exaggerated Griffin nap. So you can come in behind here, or you can go up and wrap it in there for your whip finish. Come in, no glue, no nothing. I don't put any sealant on this. For this time of year, you're gonna lose a ton of these on bluegill just because the bass will come also, but that gives you your little ant.
Well, that's
That
pretty
looks
cool.
nice.
How does it float?
It does okay on that, and it doesn't work well in fast water, Terry. So if you're trying to hit this in some white or bubbles and things like that, but on pond fishing, you'll do okay with that. Same that we talked about as far as a little bit of gink on here. I typically do this as a trailer on a larger caddis, and so it looks like an ant's trying to chase a caddis. In my mind, it does anyway. But it's effective. You can also go pretty large on this. People do Hellgamites all the time because you can really run these on a larger style hook and make this all the time. Also, how I added in the dubbing, if you want more floating, what I would do is layer a dubbing down, go in then with an extra scrap piece of foam, then put this on top, and you'll have better success as far as how long it'll stay up on top of the water, and then get those takes. So
Maybe, would you cut off the top hackles or not?
no, I would leave it, because with this profile wall, when you drop this in the water and how
Yeah.
all of these catch in the film, because that's a look. I mean, this is what I want to happen right here, because it catches in the film. It makes little air bubbles underneath it. If anything, I'm not going to miss any bluegill or any trout because of this little bit of fiber here. If you wanted to, sure, absolutely, you can come in and make it go flat. Not a problem at all. Will not affect the flight, will not affect the what it does on the film. But you could, just like how you would trim on, kind of a double wing caddis or something, you come in and you trim underneath there to make it sit more flat. You won't notice. I wanted the bugginess without going to rubber.
Yeah, it works
So
really,
I don't
really.
want,
That is a great fly, and if you buy it in white, you can use your color pens to color it, make it any color you want to.
Yep.
well, and the great thing is, John, is because again, you get down to these little scraps like this. And so same thing, and I'll just kind of fast forward on this. And believe it or not, I'll show you a black thread just so you can see what you do. But so you've got just a scrap and you're kind of going, what do I do with it? So I've got a scrap of yellow. I've got some little tan. Great. You can add them as side indicators. I've got this little piece of foam. That's like perfect for an ant. So the thing that I want to do here is I've got my foam, same part of it. I want to come back to my little scrap of that's not going anywhere anyway. I'm going to tie that in. So again, I come back up under 45, 45, and then move it so that perpendicular, because that's a trick to get your legs to go the right way. I'm going to pin that out of my way. Now I'm taking this little bit of scrap, one over, cinch it in place, move that up out of the way, one over, cinched in place, move up so that you're keeping the integrity of the foam. And then I want to finish it out a little bit at the front here. And now I can come in and all I'm doing is laying my hackle on that candy cane. Right there, want to come in, want to lock it in place.
That looks pretty
And then,
color.
well, and then you've got something you can sight.
Yeah, and the
So once
bluegill,
I get my hack,
the
once I
bluegill
get
look
my
at that like a
hackle-
candy cane too.
Yep.
well, and that's a wrap, because when it sits on, so it gave you all the segments, what Carl was first working on with the mayfly, same thing. You've got all the segments, which is natural. And on this portion of it, again, just kind of come back. You can come in right now if you wanted to with your bodkin, bring it up, just give that little half hitch on there. And then I come back over the top then, once everything's secure and in place, and then I'll put my whip finish in. You can trim up the tail if you want to. You can make it look, they're not looking that long. It's just a matter of what's going on. But you could come in and do fancy stuff. And, I've split this before where you can split it like 3 ways to make it look more like a tail. It's just about that fast motion. You're hitting the water and they're hungry.
Yeah,
But
I've
this
seen
is-
them hit that. I've seen them hit that thing as soon as it hits the water. It's almost like they see it coming.
Oh, there's a lot to that, because I've been watching that more and more, and it brings in a whole different commentary about false casts. So it is something where, again, it's you've got scraps, you don't know what to do with them. You're not, just figure out and play. And for bluegill wise, you can fill up a whole fly box. Again, this one, like Walt had asked, would I cut it off on the bottom? Makes no difference. Absolutely. You will not impede a hook set.
And they
By
work
this
great on a
little bit-
Tenkara rod.
Yep, it would.
No.
It absolutely would. So I'll send you a whole bunch, John. That's all I have tonight. And I got cold fried chicken waiting for me and I'm starving. And
All right.
then I gotta get on the phone and let's move some folks around the country.
Amy, thanks for your help this weekend. I appreciated it.
I'm good. I think I sent you back a couple more. So we'll all get caught up sometime this week
Yeah.
on our emails.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm behind on mine, so.
And for those of you that are
Tomorrow.
interested, we're having our fly tying Thursday this week, and I'm not absolutely sure what Mike is tying, but if anybody's interested, let me know. I'll send you the link at 6 o'clock Central Time.
Send it
Yeah,
out.
we do Zoom now, so
Yep, send it out, John.
I will.
Before we go, somebody had a good idea. They're like, hey, cut some out. I've got some of these frogs. If I'm tying anything and you're like, wow, that was really cool, Mick, and you want some of these foam cutouts or something, email me. I don't mind making up a bunch of kits for people. You know, if you just need the foam bodies, let me know. If you want full, yep, we'll see, Amy. Thank you. Let me know. You have my email. Just send me your address and I'll get them in the mail. I know Walt, where I had the body cord, I think I sent him some out. If there's anything I'm tying and you're like, wow, I actually would like some of that, I've got extras, just let me know. I'll send something out.
So can we just send you a bunch of foam then, Mick?
I've got foam. As I said, I would go out and buy some, if we want to use it. If there's a lot of, I could just expense it and then, we could use it for Project Healing Waters. So, but yeah, if you guys see something I'm tying, you're like, man, I really want to try that, but I don't have the, some of the materials and all that, let me know. I'll create a couple kits. I think John remembered that's what I did at that Mayfly project in Lebanon. I had kits ready and we handed them out and we started tying. So I'm more than happy to do that.
Mick, if you don't mind, I'd like to pulse you on those kits and how you made them up, because now that I'm the new program lead here, I think that's what we're going to start doing as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send you an email on what I do.
Okay.
It's pretty simple. I just kind of sit there and, while I'm tying, I'm making a list of what I've been using and then I cut it up and throw it in. They got little snack, zip bags, and that's what I did. And then that's what I handed out at Mayfly. And, I made sure everyone took one and I had a tied fly in front of each so they could decide what they wanted.
Okay.
For next week, sure.
Hey, just to let you know, on the 4th and time, I can't attend. I hit the lottery this last week.
And you're gone. You're going to Hawaii, right?
I caught coronavirus again. This is 3 times.
Oh my gosh. Well, you take it easy. Again,
So I'm kind of quarantined again.
yeah, take it easy. Again, our meetings on Monday and our trips, they're not mandatory. I'd rather you be safe and we'll get you the next time. So even like next Monday, that's, Memorial Day. Will I be on? Yes. You don't have to show up, and I'm just going to call this dealer's choice. I know that's Amy likes calling that. So I'm going to call that. We're going to Merrimack that Saturday after that, or is it Sunday? I can't remember. But basically tie some flies or bring up some ideas. Hey, I've been at Merrimack and this works. So I'll bring up some flies that work well for me at Merrimack and, what I use, how I use it, where I go. And it's just going to be kind of an open forum next Monday, only if you want to go or come on. I know it's a holiday, you might be with family. Don't feel obligated to join on, but, I'll be, winding down from everything. So jumping on Zoom isn't going to affect me at all. So again, next week, we'll talk some Merrimack tactics and flies. And again, you have my email. Let me know if you want any of these. I'm more than happy to send out. So that's all I have. Any questions before we call it an end? All right, Scott, I'll get with you too as well. I have your fly tying kit. Maybe tomorrow, since I'm taking tomorrow off, I could run it by or something. So
How's Margie?
Margie's doing better. She sees a doctor and she's on still like a heart monitor and she's doing better. It's just she needs to take it easy and not stress so much. She needs to go fishing more. So we'll be taking her out this weekend and then at Merrimack for sure. So
Mick, you tell her as a victim of 3 heart attacks, tell her that fishing is the way to go.
yep. And we're going to be doing that this week for sure. So it calms us down and it's just, we've had too much on our plate and
Yep.
we have not been going. And this is why we do it. you know.
Hey, we do it for our vets. We should be doing it for ourselves too.
Yes, because even though we're volunteers, we're still vets, and I still want to make sure I'm taking care of my volunteers, whether they're vets or just volunteers, as well as I take care of the participants. So we're out there to have fun. If you need anything, you reach out, and even if it's a quick, hey, Nick, I need to go fishing, let's go. Just, you've got ways to get a hold of me, we'll go. So.
Yep.
That's all I got. I'll give you the rest of your evening back, and we'll see you maybe on Monday. And if I get an email from you on needing stuff, let me know and I'll get those out ASAP.
Well, thanks, Mick.
All right.
Guidelines, Dale.
Walt, get better.
Yep.
Yeah, please, Walt.
Yep. Walt, get better. If you need anything, holler. Okay.
Yeah, I'll even drive down from Omaha if you need it that bad.
Yep.
Isolation sucks.
Yes, it
Yeah, it
does.
does. Yeah, it does.
All right.
Good night.
Be well.
Guidelines, all.
Be well. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.